You ready, Matt?
I was born ready, kid. I love
All
it.
right. Hello, friends. It's Rising Signs. You got me, Joe Lupton, my partner in crime, Mr.
Matty Cakes.
Matthew Lavery. Ellen,
Brother.
play the intro music for us.
Let's go.
All right. Mr. Lavery, how's your week, man? What's
Mr.
been going on?
Lupton. You know what, brother? You know me. I wake up in the morning super positive. I do want to share something with you, a little information that you don't know. But we've kind of done something behind your back. The editing team, Ellen, Brian, we've gone about and we've started an Instagram account. Yes. Rising
social
Signs
medias.
Podcast season 2. We are on social media. Joe, I'm going to do this now to start the podcast. You don't know, but the editing team went and sent me some funny clips. I guess we have bloopers. As you and I both know, when we stop recording, we don't stop recording. So,
Did you bleep out the bad words?
never. Do you remember this?
Oh, God.
Oh, God, we are not in sync, but you still sound great. It really brought me, it gave me flashbacks to all those stories you used to tell us about you and your band. Man, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
All right, you gotta send that to me because
I will.
I'll never know. So you guys can just keep doing that because I'm not on any of the social medias except for like LinkedIn. I'm on there, but that's about it.
No, that's more professional. We can't put videos like that on LinkedIn.
So I gotta know, do we got more views on Instagram than we do on like YouTube at this point?
You know what? We're growing. I will say that. We started with 0 and we're up to about 200 followers. So it's growing rapidly.
Wow.
Yes. And they're all association, sign industry people. So yeah, as long as we keep growing this platform, we're going to be on to a good new path for the new year. So
All right.
how's everything with you, brother?
Man, it was great. I was in Texas last week hanging out with a manufacturer. You know, I'm going from my Ohio weather to my Texas weather. You know, we went to a ranch, you know, zebras, buffalo, all kinds of deer and nonsense and barbecue and all that, you know, the whole kit and caboodle hanging out with those guys. So it was beautiful. And, you know, I got on the plane to come back home and, you know, basketball shorts and a t-shirt. And I was like, oh, and then I had to like open my luggage bag and put some pants and a hoodie on for the back in Ohio weather, you know, which was just cold as all get out. But last week we talked with some guys who go over the edge of buildings.
Yep.
Or week before last, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Who knows? Anyways, so we talked a little bit about helicopters flying in, cabinets, letters, all that stuff. So these guys from last week connected us with a new guest who we have today, who does his primary focus is contracting those jobs. So this is the part where we turn on the hype music and you give your famous intros, my friend. The special recipe.
Jojo, thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yes, last episode was an intro into this episode, so we're going to take it to another level. This next guest comes from the smallest city, the smallest county in Tennessee, otherwise known as Hartsville. Just a little information because I know you love your geography. He is a high flyer, and if you want to Google this while I'm speaking, by all means, he is considered the Brian Brown of the sign industry. Yeah, Joe, go ahead and Google it. This next guest, placing large objects, mostly signs on top of very large buildings, utilizing helicopters or special rigging techniques. He is also utilizing rope access to complete these projects. He has completed numerous projects from coast to coast of this type, where he specializes in high and difficult and extreme circumstances. When people say it can't be done, this man shines brighter than the sun. He is about completing projects safely and on time, and of course, on a budget.
Is there an intermission for this introduction? Oh my God.
From High Angle Services LLC in Hartsburg, Tennessee, I want to bring in the legend himself, Mr. Jim Webster. Woo! Baby, let's go, Jimbo.
What a fantastic introduction. I mean, my gosh, I deserve all that.
Jim, I'm gonna be totally transparent. I tend to do a lot of research to get these introductions. My friend, there's not a lot of information on you on the internet. I looked on Facebook, I looked on Instagram, I called some of your family members, and I couldn't get anything. So most of what I took, I stole this from your LinkedIn profile. Not
Wow.
gonna lie. Jim, how is everything today, man? Blessed you on
Everything's
Friday,
lovely,
brother.
man. Beautiful day here. Of course, we got, forecast it's going to be 63 and then drop down to 19 tonight. So that's a pretty big spread. And a lot of snow coming. We don't do well in the snow down here. Well, these people don't. I can drive in a little bit, usually in circles, but, I can do it.
That's the best way. Listen, like I said, I'm in Ohio, right? And these guys, they generally treat the roads really well. So you almost never have to worry about anything. But, you'll be going up towards like Erie and Michigan and all that, right? In Cleveland, and you've got that lake effect where it's just like, anyways, I call it a high stakes slip and slide. You just get used to it. And
then somebody from Georgia comes driving alongside of you, and then
85 miles an hour.
Give them plenty of room.
I love how you guys both talk, but yet I'm in Toronto, Canada. We had yet another snowstorm yesterday. So currently the clouds are out on the road right now, and people are driving 100 on a 40 anyways. So
I mean, it's not a big deal when your main mode of transportation is Huskies and a sled, right?
That's right.
Wow. As you guys can see, my igloo is looking real good right now, but you wouldn't even be able to tell I'm in an igloo, eh? Woo! Drinking that maple syrup, Jojo.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started on maple syrup. Let's go a different direction. Anyways. So, Jim, did we appropriately create a good view of what you do with that introduction?
I couldn't have said it better myself. So,
all right. Well,
embellish it a little bit more, but that's good. Right.
Well, I'm going to take this portion of the show. I'm going to jump into trivia because I already found some helicopter trivia.
Oh.
And I wanted to see if anybody, if anybody can Google it without me seeing them Google it, or if
no hands. I'm not Googling. No hands.
So, who invented the first functional single rotor helicopter?
Ivan Sikorsky.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Of course, it's got to be right. Gee.
Wow. It's all right.
Even if it's wrong, you're going to tell me it's right? Okay, good.
No, it was right. I don't know. I Googled it, so it's whatever this webpage is telling me right here. So who knows if I know, right? But on September 14th, 1939, in Stratford, Connecticut, was the first flight. But here's what's funny. In doing some research, the concept of vertical flight is something that's been around for a long time. So even Leonardo da Vinci had sketches of the concepts of helicopter, forever ago. So anyways, I was really surprised to see how much unique history there was just surrounding helicopters in general. And then I think when you think about speeds, right? Like I think the average speed of a helicopter is like 160 miles an hour, but they have them that go to like 263 miles an hour now. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, on those Da Vinci drawings, if you'd look real close, you'd see they had a sign hanging underneath one of them, one of his drawings of a helicopter, a bank sign.
Really?
No way. No way.
Yeah, putting it on, some Bank of America tower somewhere in the United States.
I love
Joe, I love that knowledge, but hey, good for you. My guess was going to be Mary Poppins, but I guess I was wrong. So it is what it is.
Oh my God, I love it.
You got more for us? You got more questions?
No, I do, but I'm not going to. We're gonna
Did you Google who Brian Brown was?
I did. So he's like an actor, right? So he just like looks like Jim a little bit, right?
No.
I did. No. Okay, so what
Brian Brown in 1990 was America's highest jumper at 7 foot 8 inches. We had
How
to
tall
do
was
something
he?
with height. That I couldn't tell you. I didn't read his bio. I just looked for a quick fact because
8
Jim's
inches.
the high flyer. So
I can't even imagine that.
me neither. 7 foot, 7'8". Jeez.
He must have been 12 foot tall.
Must have been. Must have been.
So
I love the little background noise that we got in the back to it. Jim's got followers back there. I can hear them.
yeah, just
Oh, yeah.
spectators.
I got a whole audience here.
I love it. I love it.
So
Jojo, what do you want to get into?
Well, I'm really curious. I think I see what I believe to be an Avalon preamp behind you. Is that what I see back there?
There's a pair of them back there.
I love it.
737.
So you have like a studio going on back
I
here?
do.
So school me.
That's my it's one of my pastimes. Of course, I hadn't been doing it much. Everybody's afraid the COVID monster might be hanging out in my place, so everybody wants to come, and record. And yeah, I've been doing it for probably about 20 years, I guess, something like that.
So,
In fact, I don't know.
do you operate a studio, or are you a musician and you just happen to have the gear, or what is it?
Well, I'm more of a recording person than I am a musician. I mean, I play and I play a little bass, and that's
It's a match made in heaven.
These
might be related.
Yeah, I saw that for sure.
Joe's an avid musician. He's got quite the story himself over here, Joe.
Oh, I've got stories. I don't know. I'm just a sign guy now at this point. But I used to be a musician. I never was a professional. I would have loved to have been a professional musician. But so you play bass. So who's your favorite bass player?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I can tell you what my favorite bass amp is.
Oh, what's your favorite bass amp?
Well, it's a bass preamp, the Manley Vox Box. They use it in broadcast studios, because it has that, deep booming godlike sound, on the broadcast studio setting. And the bass players love it, man. Every bass player that I've ever hooked up that thing, man, that thing sounds incredible.
You're gonna have to send me something on that. I have never heard of that. So this is gonna be a tangent. Matt's just gonna hate. So if you want to take a nap,
I never
go
do.
for it.
I never do.
So my favorite bass player is Stanley Clark. I've like his stand-up work and his electric bass work. I'm just a huge fan of. My favorite bass player's tone though is Tim Comerford. So he's from Audio Slave, and he played with Rage Against the Machine before that. So he actually, anybody who works on his amp has to sign an NDA. Like they can't tell anything that's inside it. But he inspired me. So years and years ago, and I still have it. I got it in the closet right here. I have what's called an SWR Mo bass head. And this had, a tube preamp and a solid state power amp built into it. And it has some analog effects. So it has like an analog drive. So there's like a tube just for the drive. And there's an analog chorus system built in it. But you never get the juice that you want out of a solid state amp ever. So I had a buddy of mine, and I had to leave my amp for like 6 months. I found an old all-tube Fender Bassman 400, and I had him pull the tube power section out of that amp and like Frankenstein it into this amp, and it's just amazing. I should probably sell it because I haven't plugged it up in a million years, but it's like it's something all its own, and I've always loved it. Anyway, sorry, Matt.
I think you should plug it in and play it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't want to be on Instagram again.
That's inevitable. Joe, I think the perfect way to do this, to get into a segue of Jim and the passion and the work that he does, we should show some of these pictures and videos to start. Because these people, our viewers, they have to see this before we talk about it. Because he sent us some amazing videos and photos.
Can we do the video first?
Hey, Jim, are we allowed to lead off with the video? I'm going to take this.
Can we do the video first?
Roll the video.
Do the video.
I'm going to swear.
I'm anxious to see it. Oh my God.
This is something else. So now this is coming from a helicopter right now.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
There we go. So
Oh my goodness.
here's what I'm still freaking out about. Nobody goes after you. Like the
Hey,
cameraman.
nobody knew that I was gone.
Oh my God.
Jim, that was you that fell?
Yeah, the only person that knew that I fell off there was the pilot, because he was looking down, and even the videographer that filmed that part of it didn't even really see me go off because he was so focused on that thing. And that's what I tell my guys all the time. You see, I'm already back up there. I can remember just as clear as I'm sitting right here right now what happened there when I went off of there.
Oh my God.
I had a helmet cam on too, so I looked at the helmet cam footage. I really didn't know what happened. This thing, I knew I was going down in the hole, and I looked at the helmet cam, and all I could see is my feet and the sky, because I was going head first down in there. And of course, the helicopter had a camera on the bottom of it, but it, because it was 100 and some feet away, so it's really hard to see it without, zoom. I had a GoPro on there, but this is probably about the best video of that whole thing right there. You see, I climbed back up.
Right back up. And no one's even looking at you.
I would be like this. They'd be like, come on, guys. Nobody's going to help me.
Jim, I couldn't help but notice you're mic'd up, eh?
Well, we have noise attenuating headsets, yes, that we use.
And so is that to communicate with the helicopter?
No, I talk to my people.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's a student up there that communicates with me, and then so he's kind of like the in between me and the pilot. They don't want to hear me because there's lots of cussing and yelling and screaming and everything else. And it actually bleeds through their radio, and sometimes because I'm so much louder than everything else there. But I have to be in order to make sure that people hear me. Number one, even with noise attenuating headsets, it's still hard to hear. When that guy's right over top of us. So, and there's a lot.
Joe, that's crazy because I didn't even think of that until I saw that video. And we didn't bring that up with our past guest of the communication when you're up that high. You have the helicopter noise, you have the wind, you have all these guys as signage, and then you're still trying to communicate, which essentially would be the most important thing at that point would be communication. The headsets, that's unreal. Huh.
Yeah. And before that, it was just straight up yelling. And man, I'm like, wow, that was.
Yeah.
I couldn't even talk for a day or two after, we do the job. Yelling.
Not recording any songs the next day.
So how far did you fall?
Well, so I had to allow enough slack in my rigging to allow me to move back and forth along that parapet wall there. And so I was at about probably around 12 to 15 feet of lanyard and slings, but I put that stuff in there so that it has a little bit of a slack in it, so that it's not like really taut. And so if you were to fall on it, then it would absorb some of the shock. And then I have a shock absorbing lanyard too. But so it was quite an experience. I'd always been curious about what it would be like to fall on that gear, and then of course I found out, and I'm not doing it again. Okay, so it's kind of like as I say down here, it's kind of like going to a tractor pull. You go one time, and you'll probably realize that you really don't want to go again.
So
that's me.
Somewhere in the range of 15 feet, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't get hit by the sign, right? So the way I saw that, it's like you ducked at the last second and were just off balance.
No, a tagline. A tagline caught me about mid-waist, and that's what pushed me off there. And so that thing, let's see, that full video of that shows, the sign is spinning, one direction. And then with everybody getting a hold of it, then all of a sudden it counter rotates. And when it counter rotated, one of my guys that worked for me back then, we called him Jethro because he was, how should we say? Well, he was like cock strong, like Jethro, And man, he was holding that tagline. He was not going to let go of it. When it counter rotated, and it come around and caught me about midsection, and then I was gone. I really didn't even know what happened, so I went back and looked at the video.
That was
I know one
crazy.
thing: it rattled my cage.
Yeah.
So when you
Rattled our
fell
cage watching it.
I feel like a jerk.
Yeah.
When it happened, I was laughing. When I pulled it up this morning, I was like, let me look through this email, and I'm riding my bike in the gym, and I was like, oh, and I just started busting out laughing.
Hey, well, it's it's a crazy thing, man. But it's one of those things that can happen.
Yeah.
I never, as much as I pay attention to what's going on, I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
And,
So would it be fair to say after that day, did you implement any other changes, or was there any other experience that you took away from that you brought to the work site the next day?
yes, I
Happened
did.
to you?
I did. I decided that I needed to pack 2 pairs of underwears when I go to work.
And you fired Jethro, right?
He's gone.
I'm just
He's
kidding.
gone.
No, actually, I hadn't changed anything. I mean, it's just, maybe being more aware, of where everything is. But it just sometimes, when you got something that weighs 4,600 pounds and it's swinging and coming right over your head, and you're having to duck to get out of its way, then you best keep your eye on that. And that's what I tell my guys. You keep your eye on the ball. Don't ever take your eye off that sign, because I said it'll come get you. And which is, I'm proof positive of that. So
accidents are inevitable in any field of business. It's going to happen at some point or another. It's how we limit them, learn from them, or protect ourselves from them happening more and more and more. That's what it's all about. But it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do.
Safety is paramount. I mean, it really is. And in fact, most of these guys that work for me come find me, and because they've seen, the glory on YouTube or whatever, and they want to get involved in this sort of thing. And so my interview process is pretty simple, but one thing I tell them, it really is a question and then a statement that I make to see if they're going to go for it or not. And the statement is, I tell them, I said, look, if you're sensitive, you don't want to work for me, because I said I will hurt your feelings. And I said when it comes to safety related things, I said I'm not very kind about that stuff, and that's the way I do it. It's the way I have to be. So if you're sensitive, you don't want to work for me, because I'm going to hurt your feelings if you do something stupid and jeopardize. And fortunately, it only happened about 86 or 30 times.
This guy's too much, eh?
No, it's not happened very, very, very often.
No, but I agree with you. This to do something on the ground, to do something up in the air. I think that if I worked for you, I would want it the exact same way, no BS. Because when you're playing with heights, there's no room to joke around. There's no room to joke around.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's and that's why I tell these guys. I said this work is very dangerous, even under the best of conditions. So you must be paying attention. You can't be thinking about what's going on at your house, your home. You can't be thinking about or having a conversation with one of the other your team members about God knows what. I mean, and every now and then I have to call them out or put your damn phone up.
Yeah. Matt's on Instagram again.
Yeah.
Steady. So I would be that guy. I would be that guy.
Hey, one of the pilots, Rob, that I work with the air crane, that's one of the first things he does in safety briefing. He'll tell it, because everybody gathers around on the ground at the helicopter, and roof crew and ground crew and everybody, and Rob will tell him, it's like one of the first things he says, if I see somebody with a cell phone out and taking video while you're supposed to be up there manning taglines or whatever it is, your function is up there. He said, I will put this helicopter back on the ground. It's kind of like your parents, don't make me stop this car.
Don't make me land this helicopter. I will.
Yeah. And he's dead serious about that, and because I can't even tell you how many times I've looked down in years past, and beat a couple of my guys, 30, 40 feet below me, and here comes the helicopter sign up, and they got their phones out, and they got one hand out like this, and I will say, put your phone up, please.
I'm sure that's how you say it. I'm exactly sure that's how you say it.
I knew that wouldn't be lost on you all.
No filter. We'll add the beeps in there. I'm all about the beeps.
Please put your phone away, please.
Yes, please.
Please. I'll give you a raise.
Raise my voice. But maybe stop this car.
So I loved your comment about packing extra underwear. Like, and I have to tell you, this reminds me of one of my favorite dad jokes. I'm going to try and tell it really, really fast here. Pirate ship on the open sea. Guy at the top of the mast says, "Captain, we've got 5 enemy ships on the horizon, right?" Captain looks at his first mate. He says, "Bring me my red shirt." So they go to battle. They win. First mate talks to Captain, "Why'd you ask for your red shirt?" He says, "Oh, well, if I got stabbed or injured while we were battling, I don't want the crew to lose hope, right? So if I'm bleeding, I don't want them to see me bleeding." So next week, same thing. Guy at the top of the mast, "Captain, we got 25 enemy ships on the horizon." Captain looks at his first mate. He says, "Bring me my brown pants."
I knew it was coming.
It's one of my favorites.
I wouldn't have guessed that one. I was wondering where it was going to go.
That's the best. It's over. You're going to see me bleed.
Joe, one thing I want to bring up, Jim, we know a little bit of information about you. There's a milestone in your young age that you are trying to accomplish. So from our research, correct me if I'm wrong with the numbers, you are at 851
that's correct.
high-rise installs. And your goal...
Helicopter lifts.
My bad. Helicopter lifts. And your goal before you retire at, I guess, the age of 35 by the looks of it, is to hit 1,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you want to share a little bit more on that awesome accomplishment? I mean, 851 helicopter lifts. Wow.
Yeah, well, here's the reality of all that. Is I'm just 66 in June. Okay, now I'm still out there rappelling. I still lead the way from my bunch, and I got to tell you, it's getting harder all the time. You might want to work on your math there a little bit.
I thought it was backwards. Go, continue.
But anyway, but yeah, I mean, the reality of it is, I mean, I'm 66. I mean, how many more years have I got left in it? I couldn't tell you. But even my father keeps asking me, he says, and he's still alive. He's like 90 something. He goes, "How much longer are you going to keep doing this?" And I go, "Well, I guess till I can't,
Yeah.
And that could be anything, I can't, I mean, last year I broke my hip, broke a bunch of ribs, and none of it working, by the way. And,
I hear the lady in the background laughing, eh?
Yeah, that's canned laughter. But I got a little sign over here that I hold up, y'all can't see. It says, "Okay, laugh."
Yeah, there you go. Applause.
But
Applause.
seriously though, I mean, I'm going to try to get there, and it's one of the helicopter companies I work with. They say, "Well, if you don't make it and you get tired of doing this, you can come hang out with us for a little bit. We'll get you there, But it won't be what I want to do, as far as related to putting signs up. And those guys get thousands of lifts a year. The guys that work the crew on the helicopter. But this is all related to signs. It's all related to places and structures that are well known in a lot of cities. So when I'm watching TV, which I don't watch much of, but just for example, just watching a football game, a Super Bowl or whatever, and they pan the city. Oh, wow, there's one I did there, X number of years ago, and that's when so and so got locked up in jail or whatever. No, I'm just. But I mean,
so this seems like the perfect time, Ellen. Can you put Jim's number up on the bottom of the screen here? We would put Jim's email, but he says he's not going to read your email, right? So
old school. He's old school.
So, as Matt Lavery would say, sign family and friends of Rising Signs. Let's help Jim get to his 1,000 lifts before he breaks the rest of his ribs. All right. So call him or text him At 615-476-4707. It's a limited time offer, okay?
Limited
Law
time offer.
66.
Hey,
Limited time.
Helicopter lifts are on sale today.
Half price. No,
Yeah,
edit that out. Edit that out before I get in trouble for saying half price. That could be disastrous. I could have sworn last week when we talked to the boys, they said it was in around $100,000 on average to rent a helicopter.
well, there's
Give
a
or
lot of
take.
variables in there, but it depends on which aircraft you use. Okay. So there's two aircrafts I use primarily, and then there's a third one that's at the top that has the most capacity. But when you bring those guys in, you better go to any adjacent buildings. You better tie down any little air conditioning units they have sitting on the roofs, like a condo building. They have all. You got to go tie all this stuff down because they're not going to be there after you get through. But we use primarily the S-61, which is a Sikorsky. I think a Marine One, that type helicopter.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the force of the wind flow exerted by the helicopter is going to blow an AC unit off the top of the roof?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a 3 or 4 ton unit. Yeah.
So how are
Remember
you
the
still
vortex?
standing there?
Excuse me?
How are you still standing there if the AC unit's blowing off?
We're usually right up underneath of the helicopter. Okay, so it's kind of like the eye of the storm.
You're in the eye of the storm. All right, I'm following.
But now when he comes over top of us, we catch that wind there for whatever time. And if the wind, we like to have just a little bit of wind blowing when we do this. Maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 knots, something like that, because that will carry the rotor wash, the downwash away from us for the most part, and it keeps the sign from behaving erratically.
Rotor wash. That's a new word. Rotor
Yeah.
wash. I've never heard.
We're learning all this helicopter term. Last week was vortex off the wall, and there's a vortex that comes up off the wall. He was saying.
Well, depending on the shape of the building and any structures that are adjacent to it, can create turbulence. Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it a vortex. I just call it some crazy air moving around that you don't know where it's coming from, but you do know what it's doing to you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, when this happens, depending on the shape, like we did the Truist headquarters building in Charlotte, and those pieces that we put there were on background panels, and I should have sent you some pictures of it, but the background panels for the monogram, which I call a logo, was probably about 20 feet tall, something like that.
Wow.
Or maybe 27 feet. How tall was that thing? Square, but so it was probably 25 feet tall and 25. So we had to split it in half vertically and do 2 halves because of the weight of it. But when the pilot would get that up close to the building, because of the shape of the building, was like a big crown on top of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he got over close to it, that sign would start going like this. It'd go back and forth, front to back like this. And, and it weighed, about 5,000 or 6,000 pounds. And it's pretty hard to control that. And so when you get closer to the building, the rotor wash would actually push it back away from us. So we're trying to, manhandle this thing with about 6 or 8 people to try to calm down and get it to drop in place. So it's it can be a real challenge. It's not
what's
damn
this?
scary.
Sorry, what's this photo we're looking at right now? First of all, love this angle of showing the helicopter, the sign, and the building and the guys. That's incredible. That's an incredible photo.
Please put your phone away.
No, that's me.
Yeah. Your wife, Jim. So you don't get to yell at her, right? She can take all the photos she wants, eh?
No, that was
How'd
my
you know?
only
How'd you
job.
know? I think with my dog, he's got his own phone too, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
No, that's WeWork in downtown Nashville. And actually, that building right there was the very first building I did helicopter lifts on in 1991 when I was employed by Cummings Sign. So I've come back to that building. This is, let's see, I put Regions Bank on it too. So actually, there's Regions Bank on the other side, and then we work on 2 sides. So that was my last visit there with a helicopter. But yeah, that building came full circle on that one. So,
how tall are those letters there, if you remember?
Oh, I think that K is probably maybe 9, 10 foot, something like that. Not real big, but big enough.
Yeah.
I like it big
I like
enough.
bigger.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
big enough.
sure.
If you can see it from the ground, it's definitely big enough. Those are just crazy angles. Like, even if you see, like, I can't tell if that building's on somewhat of a slant. I think it
Yes,
is.
it is.
It has like a peak. Just to see those guys like scaling the side of a building like that, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
So,
That was
quick
my
question here: Are you with a set of channel letters? And I'm sure this changes, right? But specifically for this one, are you lining this guy up and trying to put your bolts through your mounting clips on the
Yeah.
raceway, or is this landing on top of the roof and then you guys are roping it down to where it's going to be fastened? Or are you fastening while the helicopter is still holding?
No.
Good question.
No, in fact, when I did that building the first time, I worked with this very clever engineer in 1991, and so we were talking about how we were going to get this. I was reading a note. So,
I didn't want to say that when you got the phone call, but I think we're at 8:52. We're at 8:52.
the engineer came up with a very clever contraption, and we call it a capture. So it had, the either on the sign or the structure that we're mounting to, there'll be something on the top row of mounts that when we drop it in, it'll hook, and then I don't have to put any hardware in it. I can go on and do the next line or next section or whatever, because it's not going to fall up. I hope. If it falls up,
the vortex strikes again.
If it falls up, we got bigger problems than that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how I do it. And there's all sort of different ways that different engineers have come up with stuff. Some of them work really well. Some of them don't work worth a damn. Even I can tell these guys what I want, and I can even show them stuff from other jobs, and they're kind of, how those guys can be. They can be a little quirky sometimes.
They can be engineers.
Exactly.
That's why they get paid.
But anyway, so and if I have trouble setting it because they're lousy design, then they'll hear about it. So,
yeah,
not for me. Well, actually, if they're there, they'll know about it. But yeah, so we don't put any hardware in until later on. And
oh man,
8:53. We're at 8:53.
Here we go.
8:53. Let's go, Rising Science. Let's
get
go.
rid of. I had my trusty assistant move it to another room.
I got a question for you, Jim. If you could do work for a specific company or a specific job or building, whatnot, that would be like a dream job for you in what you do, who would it be for, or what building would it be?
Well, I'll pretty much work for just a handful of companies in the United States, and as far as buildings go, and I really don't want to call one out versus the other, but the ones I work for are all good companies. But as far as buildings go, I would have to say that the Bank of America building in Los Angeles, which was right next door to a job that I did for I can't remember the name of the company, some engineering, AECOM. Did some helicopter lifts in downtown LA a few years ago, but the Bank of America building was right across from it. It's the tallest structure in Los Angeles, so that's my thing. I did the tallest building in wherever.
Yeah.
And that's happened, more often than I can remember. But so yeah, that would be the one right there. However, I don't know how difficult that job is because we specialize in the high and the difficult stuff. So there may be even a place to stand up there where you could do this. So that would kind of take all the fun out of it. But
yeah,
I get that. I mean, really, it's but yeah, that building probably so because you see it all the time in movies, right?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about. Did I say Bank of America? I meant U.S. Bank. I'm sorry.
U.S. Bank.
U.S.
in
Bank.
Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up too.
Yeah, and this one they just built a slide on the outside at like the 60th and 70th floor or something like that.
I know exactly what it is. Yep. Yeah. That's really
slide?
Cool. Yeah, a slide. Look this up after the show. Look it up. Yeah, it's actually really cool.
For what?
Sightseeing. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Look it up.
In Los Angeles, other than go to Skid Row and look around.
Wow.
Skid Row after a couple of those jobs you showed us, I'll tell you that much. Sorry. little play on words.
Ah,
I
da-da.
appreciate that. I'm a smart ass at heart. I mean,
There you go.
What a show! What a show!
Yeah, and I
So-
will be telling everybody on my Facebook accounts, and that sort of thing that I'm on.
Go for
I've already told a bunch of them, and they're like, "Well, let us know. Let us know." So
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that. So Ellen, I thought I saw a photo of a Wells Fargo sign. Did I see that? Or at least a part of a Wells Fargo sign?
I love these pictures. Look how
on that
crazy
job
it is.
on the other side of
Not
the
now.
building, that was actually a Marist Bank, and what you see all those ropes we got, deployed all the way down through there. That's how we do that, and we'll go from rope to rope. So we'll move horizontally across the face of the building. Wherever we start down. But in this particular case, we're core drilling holes through that precast up there.
I was gonna say, I'm wondering if that looks like a hammer drill of sorts.
It's
Hilti.
it's a high speed Hilti diamond core rig. Spins about 10,000 RPMs, and it'll go through that 5-6 inch thick 10,000 psi concrete in just a matter of probably, I don't know, 45 seconds, unless you had a piece of steel or something like that. And then it doesn't spall out on the backside like a hammer drill does. When you break through the concrete and it leaves a big divot on the backside. These don't do that. They do use water, so they're a little messy, but there's actually slurry recovery systems with these drills that actually pick up all that slurry and recycle the water back, so you don't have to have like a continuous supply of water from a hose or something like that.
That's crazy.
But that's probably the most badass tool I've ever bought. They're very expensive, but man, they'll go through a 1-inch piece of granite, black granite, in about 17 seconds, like that.
And where's this photo taking place? Because I can see the bridge in the background.
That is in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
That's a building that I've done probably 3 times now, maybe 4.
Wow.
It's amazing how many times I've been back to some of these buildings. It really is.
That's crazy. That's crazy when you think about it. That goes to show, it's usually a turnaround, a rebranding, or a buyout of a building. But that's crazy in your tender to go back to a building multiple times to work on it and change it.
Yes,
it's crazy.
I'm still stuck on what he's talking about, this drill here, man. I remember putting the ledger board on my house for my deck, just going through brick with a hammer drill, and God, if I didn't eat through bits, and I'm just sitting there putting all 200 pounds I got into the thing, and just like there for 10 minutes on a hole. I'm like, good God, here I am 45 seconds through this 10,000 PSI concrete.
Mm-hmm.
I might need to borrow that from you, Jim. I need to borrow that.
Yeah. I haven't done it. We're neighbors.
Well, and the one thing we learned too is it pays to have a drill like that, because again, from what we heard, whenever you're rappelling and on the side of a wall like that, you're limited with the use of your legs and how much power you could use to put into the drill. So it's mostly upper body. So a drill like that, you don't want to be on the side of a building for 6 hours, right?
Oh, well, we do longer than that, but those drills have vacuum. They suck down to the side of the building with vacuum, as long as the surface is good. If it's not, if you can't get a good seal on the vacuum, then you have to set anchors, like a 3/8, wedge anchor or something like that, and then mount it with that. And then, so in some cases we have to do that for every hole. But we drilled about 400 holes probably in that building off the rope.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you put all the mounts on and everything. I mean, there's some jobs, because that building's such a pain to rig for a swing stage, because the parapet wall is like 25 foot high. So you have to build scaffolding up that high, and you got, the beams and weights. And I mean, it's like so much stuff to carry up there. It's, it's crazy. Now,
I'm getting tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I used to do all that. I used to, they called it the Jim Webster fitness program,
Yeah.
The Jimmy Webster fitness program.
I took at least 40 pounds off at least a couple of guys.
Yeah, I believe it.
That wanted to work for me, all fat and sassy and everything, and then
fat and sassy.
Taking in the job, they were all buff and and feeling good about themselves, and then they went home for a month and got fat again. So
there you go.
But seriously though, I mean, it used to be very physical, but I got smarter and just started paying the people to bring the scaffolding in and set it up for me, tear it down and move it out, or I'll helicopter the stuff off when we get done if they get some racks up there to put it in, and that's kind of what I did. And,
utilize the equipment. Yeah.
well, it's pretty expensive to for each helicopter lift to take stuff off like that. I mean, it's so it's not really cost effective, let's say. I mean, for what it costs to get it off of the helicopter, we could carry it down and carry it back up again, for the same cost, if not even take it back down 3 trips, But sometimes, at the end of the job, I'm ready to get it over with, and I'll put, I'll have some money in there to do this with, or or sometimes we have to make a show.
So there's a beautiful illustration for this, right? It's like you can iron and press your own shirts, right? But to do it well, I 4 or 5 shirts, I'm doing it's a few hours, right? Or you can take it to the dry cleaner and it's $1.85. Like it costs me less to do it myself, right? But I'm just gonna pay $1.85 because I don't want to waste 3 hours doing it.
True. And they do a professional job with their shirt too.
Yeah, it looks great.
And if for like mine, there's that big imprint of the iron on the back of it where the phone rang, and you left the iron sitting on the back of it.
Jim, you don't iron your shirts. Who are you kidding?
You're right. You're right. Sonny ironed my shirt for me this morning. That's my audience over here. My girlfriend.
There you go.
I love it. Jim, one reason why we started this podcast, one reason Joe and I are so passionate about it, obviously it's the people that are in the industry, but it's always about continuing the industry, growing the industry, and what's to come. So for those viewers out there that are not in the sign industry or that are, and they want to elevate themselves, give us some words of inspiration, some wisdom. Why do you love the sign industry? Why should somebody be in the sign industry? Or why have you dedicated all this time of your life to this industry? Inspire us, brother.
Well, okay. So in the particular realm that I'm involved in, with the high-rise work, the one of the saddest, and I've been asked this by several newspapers and other stuff that I've interviewed with, but one of the things that well, there's several things that attract me to this kind of work. Okay, one of them is the danger, obviously, and the challenge in that. But when you turn on a TV, if you watch TV and you see something, you see your work. I mean, that's pretty rewarding. Okay. Yep. But in this particular business and the sign business, I have found that when even things are not that great in the economy, you could still get a job. I mean, you really can. And there's less and less craftsmen, around these days that the guys, the old school guys, man, that could build. I mean, I've seen some really, really good craftsmen, but they're all retired and gone, and everything's so how shall we say, computerized, I guess, for lack of a better word, with the CNCs and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, anybody that gets into this work, I mean, it's not cut out for everybody, though. I will say that, and depending on which aspect of it you get involved in, whether it be project management or you be on a service truck or an install crew or whatever. I don't care how bad things can get. You can get a job. You can be lousy and still get a job. So, but so I mean, and I've been doing it now for about 30 some years. I have to do the math, but and there's been times where I got burnt out on it, and I would go do something else. For example, I went out to all these sawmills across the Tennessee-Kentucky state line looking for maple logs that I could sell to Gibson Guitar to make Les Pauls out of. Did that for a while. And so that was one of the things. That's probably, and then of course, then I drove a truck off and on, which, I really didn't care much about that. But I had the license, so I could do it. And that's how, when I started this company, I even put that in my bio, that I started out, the American dream, own your own business, be self-employed and all that. But a lot of folks don't realize what it takes to do that, and me driving a truck at night and hanging signs during the day on the interstate.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's how you get burnt out.
but I mean, I had the desire to do what I had to do. I had this, actually, I had wrote a business plan for what I'm doing. I wrote it probably 8 or 9 years before I ever realized it. So I always had that in the back of my mind, and everything that I did every day when I was working for somebody else was geared towards one day the possibility of me being self-employed and realizing, my dream, if it were, of having a regional installation company. And then that turned into focusing on the high rise stuff, because after I did the first one, I was bitten by the bug. I mean, I really
Yeah.
was.
Got the
I
itch.
get that.
Yeah. And it's the challenges associated with this kind of work can be almost overwhelming at times. And even I go, why am I specializing in this?
Could have done anything. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I could start a pie factory. How hard is that? Strawberry pies one day, peach pies the next.
I like both of those pies.
But hell, I mean,
Could have just been the next Dr. Dre in that recording studio too, right?
Oh my
I knew
God.
you should say that, but but it's a hobby. The recording
Yeah, I love
part
it.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've produced a
Got
few
lot of
songs.
great
But
music.
That's awesome. Well, Jim, we really appreciate the words of wisdom and the time you
Love it.
shared with us today. Ellen, if you wouldn't mind putting Jim's number on the screen here again for us, so we can help him get to from 853 to 1,000. Hopefully his phone will ring again
853.
before we get off. Well, Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for
Love it.
sharing your videos
Love
and
it.
photos and your
Love
time,
it.
of course. And of course, I love the studio background. I thought that was a nice little touch to have that in there. But we really appreciate your time and, of course, your contribution to the industry. It's very cool what you do, and it's great for people to be able to hear about it on the show here. So thank you very much.
yeah, you guys, if you want to have me back again, I'm game. I'm all about it.
Thank you.
Might
We
have to
appreciate
do that. We may have to fly down there and get in the studio.
it. Yeah, we might.
Hey, come on with it.
Record a new intro music or something. We'll go live, baby. We'll get Jim involved.
They'll probably kick us out.
I've got a lot of local musicians here in this area, in this county. People that are very accomplished and have large catalogs and can play about any damn thing. And they're always in fact, for the longest time I had on Tuesday nights I had what we call here a picking. And that would be people would come and and it was pretty much all acoustic. But and so there'd be people from Nashville started showing up at this thing. That I was having. And then divorce changes a lot of things, so so I kind of had to stop that. But somebody else actually picked it up here in the county, and they've been running it now for the past several years. Probably 6-7 years.
So
Yeah, calm down.
I like that.
We'll see about that, Jim. Thank you so much. Have a great one. We appreciate your time.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right.
Bless you. Joe, I'm not gonna lie. I might get into this helicopter business. We're going back to back, man. It's cool. It's cool, bro.
I as long as we can keep having videos of guys falling off of stuff, I think there's something to be.
Hey, good for him for allowing us to show that.
Oh my God, I was dying when I saw that, man. That's just so good. Awesome, man. Great guest, great episode. Our friends here at Rising Signs, we thank you guys for participating as always. If you've got, somebody you think we should have on the show, or you want to get on, send us an email at risingsignpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe. Right next to me is my good buddy, Matty Cakes. We'll see you next week or the week after that or something like that. All right. Ellen, play the outro music for us.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Rising
Oh,
Signs,
God.
baby.
Don't do it. Just don't do
Let's
it. Don't.
go.